I am Captain Spawn, and this is day 361 of Spawn Year. This issue actually makes a surprising amount of story progress, at least relatively, considering how dull and tedious the road getting there is. The framework for this comic is Jim giving another TV interview while several other players make stuff happen or discover things while listening to him. Jim is everywhere and nowhere. He's in the center of the public spotlight and thinks, for some reason, that that's where he needs to be in order to figure out who he is and keep all these factions from trying to control him. But while there, he has no idea that so many people are conspiring against him, illustrated by the final page when he's shot in broad daylight. Considering Jim is staged to become the most powerful being in the universe, I'm not exactly holding my breath to find out what's happened to him. And I wouldn't be anyway, since he's kind of a horrible person. But it's nice to see Carlton trying to make one complete issue that's a little more cohesive, all held together by a prevailing idea, and not just a bunch of characters threatening each other and explaining vague and confusing mythology. During his relentlessly long and mostly unrevealing interview, Jim discusses the standard difficulties he faces as the next big thing. He talks about having to find ways to blend into crowds because everyone wants a piece of him, his uncertainty at having a personal life while searching for his old one, and the enormous pressure of being viewed as the second coming. But this, I think, is still part of his invented public persona, all a means to an end. He has no idea how dangerous being a public figure really is, as his new foundation is distracting him so his enemies can make their moves without his knowledge. I think McFarlane and Carlton are still wasting a great opportunity to explore a public and famous Spawn's life and what that would really be like by making it part of another elaborate master plan, this time clowns, and by making me more than question Jim's motives for helping people. But the plot does actually thicken some here. Twitch finally makes some headway on Jim's fingerprints and is baffled to discover that he somehow has 10 sets, each belonging to a presently incarcerated murderer. I still, as with so many things, don't get why we didn't immediately follow the fingerprint reveal with that, but it's something. We learn that Terry is actually working for the same shadowy agency that's been knocking off everyone who saw that photo, and he's playing Mark. I'd suspect to get close to Jim, despite claiming the girl in the photo is who matters over Jim. Man, you can't trust anyone in this book. Lanky old man stalker clown has found, I think, that woman Jim was supposedly married to pre-coma, and prattles on as they watch Jim's interview about how awful it would be to lose all your memories and not know whether to move on in case you had someone waiting for you that you didn't know about. And it's that typical obvious TV drama thing where a creepy, dangerous nutcase practically comes right out and tells a girl her life story, but she's completely oblivious because the script needs her to be and wants the audience to be wowed by how clever its subtext is. At least she's finally being dealt with. Clown has also dug up the next person holding one of Bulgy's power pieces and left him a haha too late note. Maybe that'll finally jumpstart a confrontation between them so we don't have to keep reading Bulgy's cookie cutter video game plot anymore. I'm guessing that's the piece Clown stole in the first place, and that didn't just happen. It seems convenient that was the last piece Bulgy looked for instead of starting with it or putting it in the middle. Besides Jim's interview, which includes some of the most awkward phrasing under Carlton's pen, no one has given me a proper sense of how any of that could have happened. The other really drug-out element is the Vatican's plan to use Sarah to engender Jim's cooperation, since she is a devout Catholic and close to Jim. There's a long expository conversation amongst the Vatican heads, spelling out who Sarah is, her beliefs, and how she might be useful. Give the reader some credit. That's all pretty evident when the representative shows up to offer Sarah a trip to Rome. Carlton is having a hard time figuring out what to make explicit and what can be inferred, so a lot of the time I'm either totally confused or reading a scene that feels totally superfluous. So he's following the traditional tenets of Spawn writing. Finally, there's still a lot of awkward or downright embarrassing details the narrative tries to pass off as realistic and sophisticated. Jim is setting fashion trends because he's become so famous, which I can buy, but the trend he's setting is sunglasses and hats, because he's trying to hide his face and be inconspicuous. Jim says so many people are following suit, it's easier to move in crowds. Jim is not the first celebrity to use that trick. That's ducking paparazzi 101 stuff. I can kind of buy the sunglasses at night thing, given that's what he was wearing when he healed that guy on the street. But the interviewer is acting like everybody is going around in disguise. People generally imitate what celebrities are wearing on TV, not in tabloid pictures. That would be like if the Ninja Turtles went public and all the kids wore trench coats instead of fake turtle shells because they saw his supposed disguise at the checkout counter. If I knew less about the man who owns the company, it would be hard to imagine these sorts of things showing up in a professionally printed publication. Signed, Captain Spawn.